Hi, I'm Phil Ashey from the American Anglican Council with your weekly Anglican Perspective. I want to talk today about the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, Katharine Jefferts Schori, and her renunciation of South Carolina Diocese Bishop Mark Lawrence and his holy orders. To do that, I want to preface it with a comment, a quote actually from 1 Timothy 1, verses 8 and 9. There, Paul says, "We know that the law is good if one uses it properly. We also know that law is made not for the righteous, but for lawbreakers and rebels." And actually, it's a good thing to have canon law because it helps keep people accountable. But in this case, Mrs. Jefferts Schori, presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, is not accountable to her own laws. Let me give you an analogy of what Mrs. Schori has done. Let's suppose you're driving along and you ignored the speed limit and you get pulled over for a speeding violation. And you're fumbling for your wallet to get your driver's license out as the police officer walks up to your window. And the next thing you know, you're being pulled out of your car by that police officer and charged with resisting arrest. Well, I can tell you as a former prosecutor that resisting arrest requires a certain state of mind and certain actions, and fumbling for your wallet to get your driver's license does not constitute any of them. That's exactly the kind of thing that Mrs. Schori has done by putting herself above the law, completely changing it and reinterpreting it. But you know, it's not just Mrs. Schori. Actually, it's the entire leadership of the Episcopal Church. Back in February of 2010, we reported to the Church of England in our report, TEC, Unjust and Overbearing Episcopal Acts, that Mrs. Jefferts Schori and her House of Bishops had already renounced the holy orders of 152 priests and deacons who transferred to other Anglican jurisdictions, as well as 9 bishops, including one from the Church of England. Does anyone really believe that the Episcopal House of Bishops will do anything to rectify this situation or to discipline Mrs. Schori for acts in which they are complicit themselves? Like all utopian agendas apart from God that go astray, the Episcopal Church has nothing left of justice, fair play, and due process to govern itself, only raw power. And in such cases, Paul is right, as he says in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 3, beginning at verse 1. "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Have nothing to do with them." We appeal to the leaders of the Anglican Communion. Now is the time to isolate the Episcopal Church, to have nothing to do with them, so that this kind of thinking and acting that violates justice, fair play, and due process does not infect the rest of the Anglican Communion.